Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jared Golnitz, and welcome to Pedigree Radio. I'd like to start out by talking about the death of Les Brinsfield, who died at the age of 78 a week ago Friday. And for those of you who are new to the show, I need to mention the fact that Les Brinsfield taught me most of what I know about pedigrees. He taught me and his strong legion of other followers not only who the potent ancestors were, but he left us with knowledge of how to study pedigrees and reach our own conclusions about how to find the next generation of prepotent crosses and ancestors, and how to make predictions about who's coming next. In terms of success with mares and stallions, and I'm not really a handicapper, but for those who are handicapping, it can lead you to some success that way. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you all to read the beautiful article that was done in The Blood Horse by Eric Mitchell about Les Brinsfield's passing. And Eric Mitchell was great enough to get input from Alan Porter, from Les's children, Alan and Megan. And he was also kind enough to republish some work that has since been removed from the internet in another area where Les had written about the reason for the prominence and the potency of the cross of Domino and La Troyenne, and both of their tracing back to a sire named Diomed, who did not have success over in Europe, and when he was brought to the United States, he had a bunch of success, particularly through his sons. And so, that I was really appreciative of Eric Mitchell for reviving some of that work that we can go back to and look at for the future as we plan our matings. We all have our story about how we found Les, and mine started with a study of the background and pedigree of a horse named Aptitude, who finished second behind Fusaichi Pegasus in the Kentucky Derby. And I came across Les's article about Aptitude and began searching for other writings of his across the internet, and I was fortunate enough to find some. One of the reasons for the show is to recount some of those works, that he's written about, and not only, put them here for preservation, because a lot of that work has, like I said, has been taken off the internet. And so, it's going to be more and more difficult now that Les has passed to, keep some of that work alive and fresh in people's minds. Again, there are some conclusions I come to on my own, but there are also lots of things that Les Brinsfield brought to the fore that, a lot of concepts that were passed on to him through Olin Gentry, and we'll get into some of those later as we discuss some of the pedigrees from Arlington and Belmont. And we will also, look at some of the other horses that Les was responsible for here. So I'm going to go back to the article that Eric Mitchell wrote and just kind of, rattle off some of the horses that Les was responsible for. Les's matings did not create distorted humor, but along with John Prather, who at Windstar Farm, Prather gives a lot of credit to Les Brinsfield for doing the first book for distorted humor and shaping the mares that went to him, where they wanted to focus heavily on mares carrying strains of La Troyenne. And certainly that was, who knows where distorted humor would be now if it weren't for a very particular preference for mares carrying La Troyenne to go to distorted humor. He would have still been successful, but, he might not have had the high percentages that he had. But, there were some other horses that were direct results of Les Brinsfield's mating research, and as Eric Mitchell mentioned, those include champion Ashado, who is a champion, and champion sprinter Kona Gold, whose pedigree I will maybe go back and look at sometime. Graded stakes winner, Yes It's True. Turf winners, Grade 1 turf winner, Sun River. And then the last horse here has really made his mark. He just keeps producing top class horses. And that is More Than Ready, who, we've mentioned a few times here. But anyway, Les Brinsfield, dead at age 78, and we will all really miss him. He's the one who passed on to us, the old gentry maxims, the first being return to the sire the best blood of his dam. And the second maxim being, it is very, 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 very important to get the key ancestor in the same generation in both parents. And, those maxims still hold true, and we will see very clear instances of those as we go through our show today. So let's get started. We'll start with the Adirondack Stakes winner, Grade 2 at Saratoga, named Sue's Fortune. So there's a lot to talk about here. So we have a 3-3 of Stormcat through a daughter on top and a son on bottom, Cadianus. Cadianus has also had a nice profile done by Les, or a nice write-up, and I'll rehash that sometime. But basically, you get Stormcat, a daughter, Steady Cat, who is out of the mare Hope Springs Forever, who is by Mr. Prospector, and then you get another equivalent in Cadianus, who is by Stormcat and out of another Mr. Prospector mare. And this cross is very reminiscent to me of a local horse here named Lucy's Bob Boy, who also showed that interior cross of genetic equivalents, much like the filly here, Sue's Fortune, who is a juvenile. And but going beyond that, there's a 3-3, a 4-4 of Secretariat. But now let's get into the meat of genetic equivalence. So Jumpstart, who is the sire of Sue's Fortune, carries brings to the mating a 5x5 tail female cross of Buckpasser, a double. And so we then get into genetic equivalents that come down in the dam, whose name is Democrat Taxes. That's pretty funny. Anyway, we'll stay out of that one. But so not only that, but Cadianus has the genetic equivalents of I'm sorry, not Cadianus, but Sue's Fortune has Francis S., who is tail female to Latroyan through Blue-Eyed Momo, who, as we know, is a genetic equivalent, like a full sister in blood to Busanda, who is the dam of Buckpasser present in Jumpstart. And so we get the Busanda Blue-Eyed Momo cross, who we've talked about, several times on the show already in our short history here. But also we get this cross of Hoist the Flag and Halo and Buckpasser, who can be genetic equivalents in their own right, especially Buckpasser and Hail to Reason. But I want to talk about this little tale of the Toms going on here. Now, who are the Toms? So on top you have the sire of Buckpasser, Tom Fool. And on the bottom you have the sire of Hoist the Flag, Tom Rolfe. And there's a very interesting cross going here between these two. So when you look at Hoist the Flag over Buckpasser, both are out of War Admiral mares. And so you get this, you already have this, concentration of domino going on through War Admiral. And not only that, but the second dam of Hoist the Flag is the tourbillon mare Triomphe. Sorry if I'm butchering these French names here, but so with Tourbillon, you get a lot of Vandal, who's critical to line breeding to domino, as we've explained in previous episodes. But then in Buckpasser, you also get Blue Larkspur, who is tail male to domino himself, and so you get this buildup of domino again, and a bunch of his ilk, and so I wanted to take a look, not just at Hoist the Flag Buckpasser, but I want to talk about what Tom Rolfe and Tom Fool have in common. And so here it is. They both have between the two of them, they have the full siblings Sir Galahad and Bulldog, present 3 to 4. Tom Rolfe is carrying Buchan, who is a family 16 Agnes family line, which goes very well with all the La Troyenne present through Blue-Eyed Momo and Busanda, and AP Indy up top as well in the pedigree of Sue's Fortune. But not only that, but you get this double of Ultimus, who is, laden with domino. He's by a son of domino out of a daughter of domino, and he's present in both Tom Rolfe and Tom Fool. And so we just have this onslaught of domino present in the pedigree here, and what more is there? I mean. There's a double of Celine, who, through Pharamond, and Sickle, who, certainly was a very high-class mare, but, this onslaught of domino is almost overwhelming here. So, let's go back to Sue's Fortune. Stormcat is loaded with domino, Mr. Prospector is loaded with domino, and then you also get a lot more of the Prince Quillo Nazrilla build-ups. Through Secretariat. Not only that, but Jumpstart himself is tail female to Rose Bower, who is a daughter of Prince Quillo. And then Hail to Reason, top and bottom, both in the 6th generation. Return to the sire, the best blood of his dam, although Hail to Reason is through the sire, through the grandsire, the great-grandsire of Sue's Fortune and Bold Reasoning, and then through the dam in the tail line of the second the tail male line of the second dam, Annual Deuce, Hail to Reason. The dam also carries Herbaget, who is also a direct family 16 descendant through Agnes. And so there's just a lot to like about this mating. And of course it produced a top class horse. So, it seems like it's, one of the main points that Les wrote in one of his writings. And, it's the fact that when you keep crossing and recrossing the same ancestors, it is either going to produce good horses or it's not. And clearly what we're seeing here is that crossing and recrossing these same ancestors is in fact producing top class horses, when it's the right set of ancestors. There's just hardly any denying that anymore. So, there's not a whole lot much more any of us can say about that. Oh, and by the way, the damn Democrat taxes is tail female to Ak, who, by the way, is Domino sireline. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Anyway, so that is Sue's Fortune. Next horse we're going to go over is the Grade 1 Secretariat Stakes winner at Arlington named Carrick. Carrick is a chestnut colt by Giant's Causeway out of the Distorted Humor mare, How Far to Heaven. So, in the dam, there's a interior cross of Danzig, and so there's inbreeding there, but then there's inbreeding in the dam of Giant's Causeway, Mariah's Storm, also the dam of Freud. She's inbred to Hail to Reason. And when you put these two together to come up with Carrick, it also led to a double of Roberto. So in total, we have 1, 2, 3 crosses of Mr. Prospector in the dam, and a Roberto in the sire, in the tail female of the sire, and another Roberto in the dam, leading to a grand total of 5 crosses of Nashua. Yeah, 5 crosses of Nashua. I think we should be paying attention to Nashua. Roberto and Mr. Prospector is a very logical cross. Pay attention to your broodmare sires, generally speaking. Bold Ruler, Native Dancer, Hasty Road, Intentionally. I know there's one I'm missing, but what do they all have in common? They are all out of Discovery mares. So any chance you get to double up on sires who have the same broodmare sire where you can cross, that can be very potent as well. And, Mr. Prospector and Roberto are certainly proof of that, proof of that mix. So, not only those, but, we get Distorted Humor going with Giant's Causeway, and, there's a little bit of La Troyenne in there, but Stormcat doesn't have any. Roberto himself doesn't have any. But he has, Roberto, Giant's Causeway is tail female to Intent, who is out of a Bubbling Over mare, bubbling over by out of Beaming Beauty. Beaming Beauty is, I think she's like tripled to Domino, like very close up. Bubbling Over, let's see, Beaming Beauty, let's see what she has here. Beaming Beauty was by Sweep, who was out of a Domino mare, and it was out of a Hippodrome mare named Belisario. And Hippodrome was like Ultimus by a son of Domino, out of a daughter of Domino. And loaded with a lot of Family 23, which is the family of Domino. So, when Alan Porter mentioned the news about Domino not being from the family we thought he was, makes me wonder if Domino's sisters, Lady Real and Correction, were also from the same family that, if they were in fact still from the same family of Domino, genetically, from the female line, whether those crosses are still fair game or not, and whether they're potent. So, I will leave that to, our individuals here, for people to study. But, there's a lot going on there in the pedigree of Carrick. 49er, but all of the players that are primed to go with La Troyenne are there. And we do find La Troyenne down in the bottom of Carrick's bottom line, whose fourth dam is Roque B. Venus, who is by Quadrangle, who is by Cohos. Cohos was a son of Belle-Troy, and Belle-Troy was out of La Troyenne. So there is some La Troyenne blood here, but not much. I mean, there's a very little number, but all of the players that she tends to go very well with are there. This cult is certainly set up to be bred to a lot more mares carrying La Troyenne. So there's no AP Indy here. So, as we talked about before, let's see who's missing and maybe add them to the mix. AP Indy is prime here. And maybe some unbridled, maybe some flatter, some not for love. But I'd love to see this guy get some more AP Indy blood, and if you can get AP Indy plus some more Seattle Slew, that would be even better. Okay, let's move on to our next one, which is the Grade 3 Pucker Up Stakes at Arlington, a horse named Secret Message. All right, so pull his pedigree back up here. Secret Message is a 3-year-old filly by Hat Trick, who is a Japanese import, who is the result of 2 American exports. So pretty much a American bloodline, except for his country of birth. And Hat Trick was by Sunday Silence out of the Lost Code mare Tricky Code. And so I want to back up a little bit, because when you look at this cross at 5 generations on Pedigree Query, there's no inbreeding at 5 generations, none. It's a complete outcross at 5 generations. And when you look at the 6th generation cross, you don't see a lot either. You see still an outcross through 6 generations in Hat Trick, but the dam is inbred 3 to 6 through Mr. Prospector, and a 6x6 of Prince Willow. But nothing major. But when you get to 7 generations, it becomes plainly clear what happens here in this mating. And what you get is a double of Banished Fear, who we talked about at length in the pedigree of Diversify. The dam West Side Singer is inbred to or line bred both through tail female to Persian Maid, who as I've noted with Justify, our Triple Crown winner, this 2F family tracing back to Allo is a turf-heavy family. That really hit home in the Pucker Up, which is at Arlington, which was a 9 furlong turf contest. And so, here we see more evidence of that 2F, that family 2F, for you Bruce Lowe fans out there, of their dominance on turf. But as I was starting to mention, kind of got sidetracked. This mating has the double of Banished Sphere through Prince John and Cosmic Bomb. We saw this before, and we saw it in our Whitney winner in Diversify. And so, any cross like this that keeps coming up again, we need to take notes and try to follow through with it. So, if you have a mare with Cosmic Bomb and no Prince John, or a mare with Prince John and no Cosmic Bomb, you might want to look at targeting the mare for a stallion who has the whichever line you're missing out of that pair from Banished Sphere. Prince John also, like I said, with Mr. Prospector, has Domino's Sister Correction, and so there's room to leverage that as well. It looks like Secret Message's third dam, Lady Blockbuster, is also a combination of the her fourth dam, who is Dunvegan Dancer, is also a I had it right the first time. Lady Blockbuster, third dam, is a result of a nice lash-up of Prince Quillo and Nazrula. Secretariat was a result of a lash-up of Prince Quillo and Nazrula. The Speedy Influence mare, Tubald, was a result of Prince Quillo and Nazrula. Piled more onto that, you get APND, who is not only a factor of Lochoin, but more Prince Quillo and Nazrula. A lot of people like to oversimplify APND as a Bold Ruler over Bold Ruler Nick. And while that may be true on face, it's not. It doesn't even come close to fully explaining the potency of APND. And it's kind of a shame that he got dumbed down to a simple Nick of Bold Ruler over Bold Ruler, which is, I don't know, kind of silly. But I was studying some pedigrees of some West Virginia horses here, and I came across a sire named Vodika Collins. There's Vodika, Vodika space Collins, Collins. And what did I find in Vodika Collins? It was by a sire named Vodika, and out of a mare named Ruthie G. And so the dam of Vodika, her name was Misty Princess. She was by a son of Nazrula named Misty Day, and out of a Prince Quillo mare. That mare was crossed on a daughter of Royal Saxon, who was a son of Royal Ascot. Royal Ascot was by Prince Quillo, out of a Nazrula mare. The second dam of Vodika Collins was a mare named Rough Manor, and Rough Manor was by Knightly Manor. Knightly Manor, you guessed it, by a son of Prince Quillo, out of a daughter of Nazrula. So 1, 2, 3 combines of the Prince Quillo Nazrula lash up that made this horse named Vodka Collins, who at 3 won the Grade 3 President's Cup. Also was second in the Derby trial. First in the Michigan Mile, which was a Grade 2. Won the Stephen Foster handicap. Second in the Fayette handicap at Keeneland. Second in the Churchill Downs handicap. Won the Stephen Foster again at 5. Won the Anchorage Stakes. And was certainly a top class horse that I had not seen before, but was just a perfect illustration of the Nazrula Prince Quillo cross. And so I decided I'd add that because it seems to keep coming up. This idea of Nazrula Prince Quillo coming up. And so let me see, go back to Secret Message here. Let me see what else here. So I just want to really mention the the double of Banished Sphere through Prince John and Cosmic Bomb. All right. Last on my list is the winner of the 4-star Dave at Saratoga, grade 1. A horse named Voodoo Song. And Voodoo Song is by English Channel out of the Unbridled Song Mare Mystic Chant. And there is, Buck Passer going on again with Hail to Reason. We've talked about those two genetic equivalents before. English Channels by Smart Strike. So you also get a double of Olympia, once through Smart Strike and the other through Unbridled Song. And Olympia, as we've discussed in the past, is a very potent cross. The dam also carries Roberto under Mr. Prospector, so that double of Nashua is in play again. There's also Hildine, who is by Bubbling Over. So Hildine is loaded with more domino. Also present in the sire of English Channel Smart Strike is Double J, who was also a domino line stallion. And so that led very well to the addition of more La Troyenne. And so that comes in through Unbridled Song. And so Unbridled has 3 crosses of La Troyenne, and so you get to take a big advantage of that throughout the pedigree there. Let's see, you get lots of Hail to Reason in here. In addition to the typical and very often seen Northern Dancer, Mr. Prospector crosses that are all throughout here. The dam also carries a double of Intentionally. And one other thing I saw in this pedigree was a double of a horse named Relic, who is the sire of Olden Times and also present in Caro. And it's not often that you see this double of Relic, or at least it's the first time I've ever seen it in a pedigree here. And so, that's worth looking at as well for your future matings. I would say the thing that really makes this mating click is the double of Olympia. As I've mentioned before, if you haven't read it, go on Blood Horse sometime and look at Cott Campbell's article that he did on Fred Hooper and Domino. It is good for a couple laughs. But one other thing I want to point out in this pedigree is, of course, you get the Tale of the Toms again. You get Tom Rolfe in the dam, through Hoist the Flag, through City Dancer, through the second dam sire, City Dancer. And you get Buck Passer through Unbridled. And so there those two are again. And so I think we should be taking note again, as once is a coincidence. Anything more than that's no longer coincidence. As we go through these pedigrees. So I want to take a look at the line breeding report on Voodoo Song here in Pedigree Query. And it looks like Tom Fool is present twice, and let's see, let me do the 10 generation search here. That's what I love about this site. You can look up just about any piece of information you want. Like I said, none of it's official, but it's good enough to give us the answers we're looking for. So it's a double of Tom Fool, both in the dam, crossed with Tom Rolfe, who's also in the dam. So that would have certainly helped the dam out, and so she was no slouch of a racehorse either. She was a stakes winner at 3 in the Open Mind Stakes at Aqueduct. So, that while that cross may not have directly benefited Voodoo Song, it certainly benefited his dam during her racing career and did not hurt her as a broodmare. So keep that in mind again. Tom Rolfe over Tom Fool. Any opportunity you can to get that cross, by all means, take advantage of it. So that's all we have for today. But I'd just like to, again, give my condolences to the family of Les Brinsfield. I did write his son, Alan, and I did receive a nice reply back from Alan. Hopefully they are listening in tonight. I did invite them and inform them of the show. So Alan and Megan, if you're out there, our prayers are with you, and just wish you the best in getting through your tough time that you're going through here. So anyway, would just like to again give a shout out to them and everybody else who follow Les Brinsfield. He is certainly the main reason behind this show even existing. So farewell, Les. Hope you're in a better place now, and we will catch you all next week at 7 p.m. Eastern, only at pedigreeradio.com.